My dear friend, perhaps, when we reach the age of 40, 50 or 60, we all share a very similar feeling. Time becomes more precious than ever. I've lived more than 60 years on this earth, and when I look back, I realize that the most important things are not what we show off to the world, but what we quietly hold within ourselves. You know, there's a strange truth. Sometimes a person's real strength does not lie in what they display outwardly, but in what they quietly guard within. I'm not sitting in front of this camera to teach you a textbook lesson. I'm here to talk to you like a friend, like someone older who has walked through enough ups and downs, enough failures and victories to understand that the quietest things are often the most enduring. Let me begin with an image. I love: the seed in the dark. Have you ever noticed that every seed needs darkness in order to sprout? It cannot grow immediately under the sunlight. If it's exposed too soon, it will wither. It needs to be protected in the soil, needs silence, needs time for its roots to go deep before it can rise. We human beings are the same. Dreams, plans, the projects of our lives, they are like those seeds. They need silence. They need a hidden time to mature before stepping into the light. I remember once a close friend of mine named Robert told me how he started a new business at the age of 55. Sounds brave, doesn't it? And indeed, at first, he was so proud, he told everyone, family, friends, former colleagues. But after a few difficult months, those words of pride became fuel for others' gossip. I told you so. At that age, dreaming only leads to failure. Robert confessed to me that what hurt wasn't the failure itself, but the way people turned his dream into a joke. From then on, he learned a profound lesson. Young dreams must be protected with silence until they are strong enough to shine on their own. Have you ever seen yourself in a story like that? Have you ever shared a dream only to feel drained when others' words and doubts pulled you down? I believe many of us have been there. Even science has an explanation for this. Psychologists have found that when you talk about your plans, your brain releases a little reward as if you've already accomplished part of it. And because of that, you may lose motivation, lose focus, and eventually give up. In other words, sharing too soon can rob you of the energy you need to act. That is why sometimes silence itself is power. Silence not only protects your plans, it also protects your peace of mind. I once knew a woman who was used to posting everything about her family on Facebook. One day she was angry at her husband, the next day disappointed in her children, the day after frustrated with her friends. At first, she thought it was a way to find empathy, but slowly she became a subject of gossip. People no longer respected her. They only saw her as entertainment. One day, she decided to stop. She told me, "Some joys I will keep only in my heart, and some sorrows I will whisper only to God." And strangely enough, from that day on, her face shone brighter, calmer, a kind of light that no cosmetic could ever create. Have you ever noticed that in yourself, that sometimes we lose our peace simply because we rush to share too much? I want you to imagine this. You have a small garden where you plant precious seeds. If every day you dig them up to show the neighbors, look, they're about to sprout. Do those seeds have a chance to live? Almost never. And you see, our dreams and plans are the same. They need quiet. They need time in the dark so their roots can grow strong before they can rise into the light. When I turned 60, I learned something I no longer needed to prove myself to the whole world. I didn't need loud applause nor blinding spotlight. What I longed for was the peace of sipping a cup of tea in the morning, a few friends who truly understood me, the serenity of knowing I had lived true to my core values. And to reach that place, I had to learn to let go of the urge to overshare, to boast, to prove. You see, true freedom doesn't come from other people's eyes. It comes from the ability to live comfortably, joyfully, even if no one knows your achievements. I still remember one evening sitting on my porch watching the sunset. No one was there to take a photo, no one to applaud, yet I felt completely fulfilled. That to me is freedom. That to me is maturity. And today I want to invite you to join me on that journey. The journey of knowing when silence is strength, of learning to protect what needs protecting, and of embracing the quiet power within. Are you ready to walk that path with me? My dear friend, in the introduction, I shared with you the image of a seed in the dark. A simple picture, yet it carries so many lessons about life. Today, in this main part, I want to take us a little further to explore other aspects of silent strength and how it helps us grow, find happiness, and hold on to the freedom of our inner world. 1. Silence is not weakness. It's a form of strength. Have you ever heard someone say, "If you stay silent, it means you've lost"? I've heard that countless times in my life. And when I was younger, I believed it. I thought silence was equal to weakness, equal to letting others step over you. But the longer I lived, the more I realized the opposite is true. Silence at the right moment is a form of power. I remember once in a business meeting back when I worked in consulting, a younger colleague got angry at me. He thought I was blocking his idea. Everyone in the room turned to me, waiting for a reaction. I could have raised my voice, proven my point, even embarrassed him in front of the group. But instead, I chose silence. I let him finish, let the storm pass, and later I spoke to him privately. The result, he no longer saw me as an opponent, but became a close collaborator. That day I learned silence isn't surrender. It's a strategy for preserving relationships, staying calm, and protecting the dignity of everyone involved. Have you ever had that feeling? That one word left unsaid carried more power than 1,000 clever arguments. 2. Keeping secrets, protecting inner energy. One thing I see often in middle age is this: we seek approval too much. We flaunt achievements, we share plans, we pour out personal details. But every time we do that, we allow others to step into our energy. A friend of mine, Linda, used to be a teacher. After retiring, she began painting. At first, she was so excited that she posted her paintings on social media all the time, waiting for praise. Of course, there were compliments, but also criticism. Gradually, every painting she made was no longer for her own joy, it was to please those online viewers. One day, she told me, "I don't feel joy anymore." I advised her to stop sharing for a while, to paint only for herself. A year later, she had rediscovered her passion. Today, she has an entire room in her house full of vibrant artwork. That story convinced me even more. When we keep a piece of ourselves private, we preserve our creative energy and inner freedom. 3. Silence helps you hear yourself. Here's the truth. Modern life is just too loud. Phones ringing, emails piling up, social media screaming for our attention. Many older folks tell me I can't even hear myself think anymore. Have you ever felt that way? Wanting quiet, but your mind still buzzing with noise from the outside world. Silence isn't just about not speaking. It's about creating space to truly listen to yourself. When I turned 50, I started a small habit every morning. Before doing anything else, I'd sit quietly for 15 minutes. No phone, no TV, no music. Just breathing and listening. At first, it was uncomfortable. But after months, I realized something in that silence. I could finally hear the real questions inside me. What brings me joy? What is draining me? What do I really want? And slowly, the answers came naturally, gently. Science even supports this. Studies show that meditation or quiet reflection helps the brain regenerate, improves memory, reduces stress. I don't call it religious meditation. I simply see it as sitting still to listen to myself. And you can begin this practice today, right where you are. 4. The story of gentle light. Another old friend of mine, Michael, once said something I'll never forget. He told me I used to want to be a blazing fire, but now I just want to be a small warm lamp. You see, when we're young, we want to shine as brightly as possible to stand out, to prove ourselves. But as we age, we begin to understand gentle light is what brings others peace. And to radiate that light, we don't need too many words, we don't need to show off. All we need is sincerity, calm, and the wisdom to remain silent at the right time. Have you ever met someone who doesn't say much yet? Their presence alone makes you feel at ease. That is the clearest example of what I call aura, the personal energy we carry. And that aura doesn't come from noise or showmanship. It comes from stillness. 5. What science says about silent strength. As someone who's worked with psychologists here in the US for many years, let me share modern science backs this up. Many studies prove that people who restrain themselves, who keep their goals private, tend to succeed more. Why? Because they aren't distracted by outside judgment, and they don't lose motivation too soon. One study at New York University found that people who talk too much about their goals often fail to achieve them. Why? Because simply saying their goals gives them the illusion of progress when in fact they haven't even started. This makes me believe even more sometimes talking less really does mean moving further. 6. Silence. A gift for our 40s, 50s, and 60s. In your 20s and 30s, you might run fast chase recognition, prove yourself. But by the time you reach your 40s, 50s, or 60s, you realize the most precious thing isn't what the world knows about you. It's how you feel about yourself. One afternoon, I met a 78-year-old woman in the park. She was reading quietly, smiling, with no phone, no company. I asked if she ever felt lonely. She smiled and said, "I'm not lonely. I'm with myself, and that's enough." Her words stayed with me for days. That's when I truly understood being at peace in your own company is the purest sign of a free and happy soul. So my friend, this message is not theory. It's made of everyday pieces, stories from friends, my own experiences, even scientific findings. All of them point to one simple truth. Silence, keeping something for yourself, is the strength that helps us grow and live with real happiness. My dear friend, we have walked quite a long journey together today, from learning how to be silent to holding on to what is precious, to understanding that true radiance does not come from showing off, but from calmness and the depth of our presence. And now, I would like to close with a few reflections, not to end, but to open a new path for each of us. 1. A lifetime. The search for stillness. Many people believe the ultimate goal of life is happiness. But have you ever asked yourself, what is true happiness? For me, after more than 60 years of living, the answer is simple. Happiness is when the soul feels at peace. Think back. Aren't the moments you remember most in life not when you were praised or celebrated, but when you sat on the porch on a breezy afternoon listening to the rustling leaves, or when you saw your children and grandchildren laughing and your heart suddenly felt warm? Such moments require no noise, no display, no show. They need only quietness and full presence. A lifetime, in the end, is a journey of learning how to settle down. 2. Learning to release the noise. One of my students once said, "Teacher, I am exhausted by the opinions of others. They always have something to say about my work, my life, my every choice. What should I do?" I looked at him and replied, "You don't need to silence others. You only need to learn how to close a few windows of your own mind. People are free to talk, but you are free not to let their words pierce your heart. Like a house, you cannot stop the wind from blowing, but you can close the doors to protect the inside. And it is that inner silence which becomes the safest refuge." Have you ever been caught in such noise? And have you realized that the moment you turn inward and turn down unnecessary sounds, you can finally hear the gentle voice of your own heart? 3. Lessons from nature. I often look to nature for inspiration, because nature is a patient teacher. A deep river never roars, yet it silently nourishes vast lands. A mountain never utters a word, yet, for thousands of years, it makes people lift their eyes in awe. A flower does not call out for anyone to admire it. It simply blooms, and the bees and butterflies come on their own. Do you see, nature teaches us that silence is a timeless language. And if we listen carefully, we will hear that lesson in every breeze, every leaf, every drop of rain. 4. The power of keeping something for yourself. Over the years, I've discovered a small rule for life. Not everything needs to be said. Some pains, if kept quietly, turn into lessons. Some dreams, if kept quietly, become silent motivation to keep moving. Some failures, if kept quietly, become seeds of wisdom. I once had a young student who failed in business and lost all his investment. He wanted to tell everyone to gain sympathy. But I advised him, "Not yet. Hold it for now. Later, when you succeed, tell this story as a lesson. Then it will carry real weight." And indeed, a few years later, he found success. And when he shared his past failure, people listened with respect, not pity. Do you see, sometimes choosing silence helps us preserve dignity and makes our story richer when told at the right time. 5. Finding peace in everyday moments. I want you to try something simple tomorrow when you wake up before touching your phone. Sit still for 5 minutes. Take a deep breath. Feel the air fill your lungs and then exhale slowly. In that moment, ask yourself, what will I keep for myself today? It could be a small idea. It could be a quiet joy. It could even be an unspoken thank you. But if you hold on to it, nurture it, you will feel a calmness flowing through your day. Many of my students practice this, and they say life becomes much lighter. And you know what? Peace often doesn't come from big changes, but from small choices repeated daily. 6. A question for you. Before we finish, I want to leave you with a few questions. You don't need to answer them right now, carry them with you. And one day in stillness, you'll hear the answers from within. What am I sharing too much of in life that perhaps I should keep for myself? Do I really need validation from others? Or is what I truly need the quiet peace of my own soul? If I chose more silence, how would my life change? If you answer these questions honestly, they will become a compass for your journey of growth. 7. A final message. My dear friend, I know what we've talked about today may sound simple but is hard to practice. But don't worry. Life never demands that we change overnight. All we need is a little patience, a little awareness, and a little courage to hold on to what should be kept. And with time, you will find yourself stronger, freer, and more at peace. Let me remind you, true strength does not lie in how much you speak or share it. Lies in how long you can remain silent and how much you can keep within. People may argue with your words, but they cannot deny the quiet power of your stillness. So the next time you feel the urge to share too much, remember this conversation. Pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, does this really need to be said? Or should I hold it within to nourish myself? And if you feel these reflections are meaningful, I invite you to leave a comment below. Tell me, have you ever experienced a moment when silence gave you strength? And if you would like to continue hearing stories and lessons from my 60+ years of living, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Because I believe our journey is far from over and there is so much more to discover together. Thank you for staying with me until the end. May you always find peace in each day, and may you learn the art of keeping something for yourself so that you may live a deeper, stronger, and more meaningful life.